All right, day 6. In advance of today, please still have your subtraction strategies chart paper. You're going to keep adding to that during today's mini lesson. Then after the mini lesson, when kids are getting to work, you need to make sure that you have the kids' homework from last night, which is the birth years of the family members. They're going to need that for today's activity. You're going to need the timelines that the kids started making yesterday, and then copies of Appendix E for them to keep working on, for them to start working on, sorry. Today's mini lesson is super cool. I put the whole thing out on this one screen so that you can see the big picture, but you're of course going to run the mini lesson in the same way you did yesterday, showing one problem at a time, only writing the next problem up when the last problem has been finished, telling kids to give their thumbs up when they get an answer, and then only share answers and strategies once everyone's had enough thinking time, etc., etc. But for you as the teacher to see the big picture, I've put all of them up here. I've also grouped them in ways that they'll go together, and probably ways that you'll be drawing them and recording the work. There are 2, 4, 6, 7 problems, but you really only are going to need to draw 4 number lines. So the first problem is 156 minus 10. Give them thinking time. Some of them might giggle because it's like too easy. Whatever, that's fine. Make sure that they're focused and giving each other quiet space to think. Some kids won't get that right away. But hopefully you get pretty quickly to the idea that 156 minus 10 is 146. Then you leave this up on the board, and underneath it you write the next problem, 156 minus 12. Give them the moment to think about it, and hopefully when they share their strategies, someone will say, well, I knew 156 minus 10 was 146, so I just had to subtract 2 more to get to 144. That is great. Saying, I knew this, so I just added on that, is exactly what we want them to do. We want them to get to the point where when they're just doing the problem 156 minus 12 without this leading problem, they could say, well, I knew if I could take away just 10 and then take away 2 more, that would get me my answer. All right, so the next problem is similar but a little different. They're going to start with 147, and they're going to subtract 20. So you'll go through the regular stuff. Some people might just jump 20. Some people might jump 10 and 10. That's fine. You can get as many answers as you want to get to the answer of 127. Then you get to the next problem, 147 minus 19. Again, leaving this work up on the board. And kids should hopefully see that connection, that these first numbers are the same and these numbers are really similar. If you know what the answer is when you subtract 20, then the answer when you subtract 19 should just be 1 higher than that, 1 more than that. So you're doing plus 1 here. Here you're doing minus 10, and then you're doing plus 1. Please be neater in your handwriting than I am. But that your answer then would be 128. You're getting them to make that connection that you're using tens and as landmark numbers. The next one, 122 minus 40. This has the added challenge of going over the hundreds mark, but it's showing that this works with any multiple of 10. So maybe you are subtracting 20, I don't know. Kids will do this in a lot of different ways. 102, and then let's say subtract another 20. I don't know if they would do that. However, they get to 82 as their answer. Let them talk through that. This one you might spend a few minutes actually working on, but then the same way you're going to jump to the real neat problem, which is 122 minus 39, which they would get, since I knew what 122 minus 40 was, I can easily figure out what 122 minus 39 is, which is 83. And this is a really cool point where you can stop and say, wow, when you woke up this morning, did you think that you would be solving the problem 122 minus 39 in your head, that you would be mentally getting the answer to that problem. That's really impressive. I didn't expect any second graders to be doing this problem in their head today. What a cool thing that you could do. Then you get to the last problem, and this is the really neat one, where you do 181 minus 49. You didn't give the leading problem, but you let them figure out what that problem should be. So for this one, the exciting thing that they should start to say on their own is that, well, I can figure out 181 minus 50 should be 131. So minus 49 should just be 132. And if you can get some of your kids thinking in that strategy and doing this problem mentally by making that connection using that landmark of 50, then you are an awesome second grade math teacher. So that was the hard part of today. The next thing is mostly just kids doing their own work, and it shouldn't be that complicated because it's a lot of cutting and pasting, and only some of them will get to doing the math part. But the kids are going to be now placing their family members on the timelines. Again, I would recommend that they write both the name and the birth year on that little yellow tab of paper and taping it onto the top. So if mom was born in 1979, then they write mom 1979, and then they tape it where it belongs on the timeline. Once they've put all their family members there, I recommend that you also have the kids place this year on their timeline, and you can even create those in advance on maybe even a different color of cardstock, little tabs that say 2018, so that all the kids can have 2018 marked, and maybe if all of their timelines are yellow, 2018 is marked in pink, so that it is consistent across all of them, and you can see what this year is and where that is on the timeline. Then you pass out Appendix E, which basically just says how old is each family member now, and it's a blank sheet of paper. So they'll have to do the writing in the year they were born, and ideally drawing in the timeline, finding the difference between the year someone was born and the current year, which is 2018. And they start working through this today and get as far as they possibly can. It's possible this goes into the next day, also totally fine. That's a wrap. Now, you're all just getting started on this unit, so you might be, when kids are working, you might just be sort of scrambling to figure out where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. The next level, the level up for you as the teacher, is that while kids are doing the investigation, you're walking around supporting the kids and making notes of their strategies. So if there's a particular kid you're worried about, or you haven't seen evidence of them using 10 as a landmark, for example, you're checking in with that child and encouraging them to use the strategies you discussed during the mini lessons while they're doing their work. You're encouraging all kids to show their thinking on open number lines. You are maybe even using little post-it notes to make notes about individual student progress to stick in their portfolios. So little Johnny is using 10 as a landmark, while other kid B is continues to count by ones, even with direct instruction to try and use shortcuts. So it's fine if they're still doing that. As long as you keep pushing them and you're making note of their progress and what strategies they are continuing to use and find beneficial.